Hey guys, Letter Magic here, and on June 1st, Mark published a Daily MTG article written by himself, of course, about his favorite things. And my gosh, is this the most telling thing I have ever read about how he goes so far off the rails. Remember, in the last couple years, or well, bunch of years, he has designed almost every most hated mechanic in the game. He has made mistake after mistake, and every single time he thought it was just the neatest, coolest, most creative, never before seen, ooh, we've never done this before kind of thing. Hey Mark, that's not the goal you should be shooting for. But I mean, even in this opening paragraph, it's amazing. This is like exactly how crap like Ikoria gets made. So get ready for some deep insights on this one. One of the responsibilities of being a Magic designer, oh, I thought you were product development, I guess you're a designer again now, is to have a good understanding of what different players like. Your job is not only to design for yourself, no, that should not be a factor at all. It's literally you versus 10 million customers. You should round down from the 0.00001% that you are and listen to what the customers want because they're the customers. So he goes into it thinking, I want to print what I want to print. Maybe the customers will respond well, maybe they won't. I'll just call it an experiment. Yep, that attitude pretty much sums up how he designs everything and how it goes so far off the rails. So blah, 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 make cards for, the players to enjoy, but that said, that doesn't mean you never get to design cards that you like. No, it does mean that. I mean, put a unicorn on the card if you like unicorns, but not just, I want to do this, even though it's horribly broken and overpowered and won't work. I like smashing creatures together. Well, it doesn't work in the game and it's overpowered and it's broken and everybody hates it. It was a disaster, so nobody cares what you want. Print what's best for the game. Design the cards that are the best for fair, fun, enjoyable gameplay. That is really the only thing that he should be prioritizing, not his own feelings of what he wants to see. And just wait, the article gets worse from here. So he even says, I don't talk a lot about what kinds of things I enjoy as a player, so for today's column I thought it would be fun, nope, to explore the things that I enjoy most about Magic, and look at some of the designs that have been inspired by these interests. I thought you were the high-level ideas guy, and then you just pass it off to other staff. I didn't think you did design cards, other than all the cards you said you designed, personally, at the individual level. Guess we're back to telling an accurate version of history and the truth in this article, unlike the last couple. Number one thing that he likes, doubling things. Okay, I used to be a math tutor at my college, but I think maybe like a 5th or 6th grader would be able to tell him that doubling things doesn't work if you can repeat it. Because then it goes double and then doubles again and then doubles again. And we're not talking 2, 4, 6, 8. We're talking 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, what the hell. Doubling things once is a one and done. That's kind of cool. It's a gimmick. It's interesting. It's situational, whatever. Go for it. But he keeps doing it on a recurring basis. He keeps putting it so that you can do it over and over and over. There's a card that does it for free in Standard right now. I mean, Hero of Lena Tower was a fantastic card. Very appropriate. I mean, powerful, but appropriate. Because you could only do it once per time that you triggered it, and it was very expensive. So he talks about how he wanted to get Alpha, the store was sold out, he bought Beta, and then he opened the card Berserk, and he saw the word double and was like, whoa, which by the way is no longer part of the Oracle text. He's like, double? That's a lot! Yeah, it should have immediately struck you as dangerously high-powered, potentially. And that doubled it once. That's like what it did. So he says, I had a green deck that already had a Craw Worm and a Regrowth in it. The three combined to make a Trampling Worm with 24 power. How could anyone stand up to that? And thus began my love of doubling things. You just went from, wow, that's broken and overpowered, to I love it, let's do it all the time. Let's print broken, overpowered stuff all the time if you were to combine those two thoughts. I mean, do I really need to say anything else about how he designed cards lately? That he actually says, I'm not sure what part of my brain doubling things triggers, but it always makes me so happy. It doesn't make any of the players happy, it's just broken, really. From there, I just started to look for more things to double. I could double mana, and he gives all these examples. I could double the size of a creature, I could double life. And then he says, oh yeah, his ultimate doubling card is Doubling Season, one of the most hated cards in the game. I mean, tone deaf and out of touch with the community wouldn't even begin to describe him. Now, if you were to name, like, the top 5 things broken and completely out of control in Standard right now, you'd have to include somewhere in the top 5 too much mana, too quick, and just, like, way too much mana, period. And everybody points to either Nissa or Nyx Bloom Ancient as the problem. I say both. So he says, my love of doubling is infectious, though, so I've gotten lots of other designers to start making doubling cards. It doesn't hurt that it's popular with players. Yeah, people like overpowered broken shit where they can just copy it off the internet and auto win at F&M without having to think or build a deck or use their brain. Yeah, it's popular among some people. So then he says one of them even made this card, and then he shows Nyx Bloom Ancient. So he must have nagged them and lied to them and made excuses and probably threatened to fire them until some intern or whatever decided, fine, I'll make a doubling card, which it isn't double. It's 3 times, actually. So somebody was like, oh, I'll do it even bigger. Fire that person. Whoever designed Nyx Bloom Ancient, fire them. Especially since they didn't put Legendary on the card. I'm somewhat sure that stacks. I mean, you should be able to resolve them sequentially. Yeah, why not? So thing number 2 that he loves, copying things. So in other words, doubling, but even more degenerate. I mean, copying things is really, really, really likely to go completely off the rails power-wise, just by its very nature. Oh, then he says that he likes to build decks with 2 things, many options and high variance. He says he wants it to play the game differently each time you play. And like the person piloting the deck should always feel in control of like the decisions and whatever. Then why do you design exactly the opposite in Standard? So his second deck he built after his mono green berserker worm thing, whatever doubler thing, was mono blue shapeshifter. If you use alpha and beta as the basis for designing cards in 2020, you have lost your damn mind, Mark. It might as well be a completely different game at this point. So then he shows off just a bunch of cards that are very problematic in the game. He's like, oh, I can use this to copy lands, and this copies this, and this copies that, and I put this in a deck, and I put this in a deck. And then he ends on Panharmonicon. Once again, one of the most hated cards printed lately. People despised playing against Panharmonicon decks the entire time that card was legal. A lot of people are calling for it to get banned. Here's the theory behind this, okay? Every card is carefully balanced. Like, red is, not going to win on turn 3, but, not too weak to, win by, like, turn 6. Green creatures are, like, powerful but not out of control. You can drop counters, but you can't drop 100 counters. Everything's very balanced and appropriate and play-tested, and then you just drop in something to say double it. It's the same with Torbran. It's the same kind of with Embercleave. Obosh is becoming increasingly popular after the ban now on Arena. Anything that takes a carefully crafted meta of 1,800 cards and then you just drop in 1 card and double or triple it, you can't do that. Either the cards are so pathetically weak that you brought them up to like a playable state by doubling something or cloning it or copying it, whatever, or your stupid cloning doubling thing is just going to be broken and overpowered. I mean, those are your only 2 options. So you either cripple the entire set to work around 1 stupid doubling card, or you print a doubling card and ruin the standard meta. You really got to be careful with this copying shit, especially Panharmonicon. But no, he loves doubling and he loves copying. Probably because, yeah, it's broken and it's easy to win with. Like, everybody loves shit that's easy to win with. Mark clearly does not give a crap about his opponent's good time or ability to play their deck or it even being worth their time to shuffle because he wants a 24/24 trample worm. Well, if you can't win the game with skill, you might as well lean back on overpowered cards. I mean, it makes sense. So we looked through all of his historic decks that he still has, and over 40 of them had instances of copy effects. This guy has like an unhealthy obsession. Well, then the next section, I didn't even read this because the title is Tokens and Counters. That could be anything, that could mean anything. The tokens could be clones, they could be 1/1s. You could have one of them, a giant hexproof Kraken, or you could have, 5 of them because you're going to count the number of creatures, or is it an ETB deck? I mean, yeah, everybody loves tokens and counters because they're just a basic part of the game. That's like saying I love lands. Then he goes on in the next section to say that he loves tribal. Well, so do a lot of people that like to play decks where they don't have to think. Oh, look, another goblin. Oh, look, another goblin. Oh, look, they all got stronger. Oh, look, another goblin. Wow, heavy decision making. Very unique and volatile, non-repetitive gameplay. So he even posts as the first example, Lord of Atlantis. Everybody knows if you print more than 1 Lord card, there it goes. That's the end of it. And right now you could play Heraldic Banner and name black and then bring out a zombie booster. Or like I think there's probably a vampire booster. I think there's a skeleton booster. There's a couple Lords cards out there where all of a sudden your 1/1s are 3/3s. Well, now we're into Torbran territory. You have a hell of a lot more time to respond as an opponent. But all of a sudden it's like, hey, with this deck and this tribal I chose, there's actually 3 +1/+1 boosters, aka Lord cards. That's why they gotta be careful with that crap. So I'm always leery about tribal, and I basically never play tribal decks. I'd rather play something fun, creative, and interesting than just, another unicorn, another unicorn. Oh, look, another unicorn. Let's count the unicorns. 3, cool, I'm going to cast a spell where if I control 3 unicorns, then I get more unicorns. Wow, such strategy. So after tribal, he just says zombies. I mean, sure. I think the zombie trope, especially in movies and video games, has been played, so like, I don't know who gets that excited about zombies, but whatever. I mean, you can usually just kind of not care about them because they might come back from the graveyard, but whatever. Next up, he mentions oozes. Who gives a crap about oozes? There's been a couple cool ones. I don't think they were printed anywhere near each other, but he says, my love of oozes actually predates magic. See, this guy's got deep, deep psychological issues. So something about he played with one in his D&D campaign and now he wants to slap it on a magic card. Once again, wonderful train of thought there. Good logic. And that said, I really want a functional beholder on a card. So after oozes, he says squirrels. I mean, obviously everybody loves squirrels. He probably just said it for the meme and so that he can fit in or whatever. He has a shocking amount of text explaining it, but I don't care. Mostly because the next one is graveyard interactions. One of the most broken, hated things by players in the entire game. Once again. Dredge is not even playing Magic. Anytime you don't need or use lands, you're not playing Magic. You're playing some stupid wasted time wombo combo bullshit. But yeah, Mark loves him some graveyard interactions, which is why he just keeps pushing it, keeps printing crap like this. By the way, the 4 examples he puts up on the screen, Recurring Nightmare, Tarmogoyf, Bridge from Below, and Treasure Cruise. Treasure Cruise, banned in Pauper, restricted in Vintage, banned in Legacy, banned in Modern. Bridge from Below, banned in Modern. Tarmogoyf, considered one of the most powerful creatures in Modern, at least for its cost. And Recurring Nightmare is just unbelievably overpowered. Oh my gosh, I checked just for fun, it's banned in Commander. So Mark says, I like this. Here's some great examples of the cards I like. I love graveyard interactions. And then names 3 out of the 4 cards that have been banned for being too powerful and too toxic and detrimental to the game. You can't make this shit up. Just more evidence that he needs to be fired immediately, but the last one will really piss you off. So you know the storm scale where he ranks every mechanic and the really high numbers are likely or not likely to ever come back in a set, and then the low numbers are virtually guaranteed to come back in a set in the future? Like Devotion's a 4. That's like, yeah, it's going to come back. Yeah, Poison and Infect is a 7. Okay, 7 is it's unlikely to return but possible if the right environment comes along. There is no right environment for basically your opponent gets to start with like an emblem / ley line that says your opponent starts the game with half life because I said so. Because I mean, you get to what 10 or 11 or whatever the hell it is poison counters and you lose the game. So and since the whole deck is Infect, they only have to hit you for half as much, but they get to use the same, best of the best green boost spells as everybody else. Obnoxious, degenerate deck. I think Infect and Poison should have been an 8 or a 9 on the scale. But they're a 7, which means people hated it, and trust me, people hated it. There are several things that people say they never want to see ever again in the game, but the most commonly mentioned has to be, at least from my experience, poison counters. I mean, people are mentioning Phyrexian Mana, I agree with that too, but poison counters are just so terrible. So the final statement of this section is, will it ever return? I hope so. You hope so. Literally nobody else in the community who isn't lying, trolling, or clueless says we never want to see it again, but you hope so. You are probably actively trying to get them to print poison counters again. Are you kidding me? Someone please fire Mark Rosewater immediately. We cannot have somebody this out of touch and this stupid doing this important of a job. So yeah, everything bad and wrong with the game and that annoys people and that has been banned in the past, he wants to do more of it. And everything that's calm, reasonable, level-headed, and, a novel idea but not completely bonkers, he's not interested. That really does sum it up. Like I said, this is the perfect peek inside of his idiotic head. He is just so far gone and so far up his own ass. He is literally incapable of doing his job or designing cards properly. He needs to go. That's about all there is to say about this article, so thanks for revealing that aggravating crap to us, Mark. I hope you either resign or get fired at least sometime this year. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I will see you guys next video.